So it surprises you that I don't have a favorite movie.
It is baffling. And after you said that, I asked people at work on Friday, and they were all able to name one quite quickly.
Yes, but is it actually a favorite movie though? See, my problem with favorite movies is I don't have a favorite movie. I literally don't. I have movies that I really enjoy. I have some that I enjoy more than others, but I don't. I've never had a favorite movie. It's the same reason why I don't have a favorite color. Like,
Really
no, I don't. I just have some that I prefer more than others.
interesting.
Right?
See, I've had the same favorite movie since I was about 9 or 10, and it's always every time I watch it, I feel good, and it makes me happy, I and I've always had the same favorite movie.
If you
Wow.
say Justice League,
First of all,
Actually, I was gonna say Batman v Superman, but just to get that gravy train rolling.
hey, you know what? If you had have said that, then you would be in line with millions of other people.
what what's your pick? What's your movie?
Me,
Yeah,
Willow.
Willow. That
It got
is an excellent movie.
it got me into fantasy, really, because right from Willow, I went right to Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit books, and then that changed everything for me. Like I was into like skidooing, and I was into trucks and ice fishing and stuff like that because we all grew up in the country. And then after Willow, it was like I was a completely different person, possibly for the better, possibly for the worse. And Ryan, what's yours?
Well, see, I know where Mark's coming from because every genre has it. You'll have a favorite movie in, right?
Right, exactly.
It'll evolve as you see new movies. But for me, I got to go with The Thing, 1988,
Ah,
John Carpenter's. It's amazing. That's what
Really,
turned me on creatures. Yes, monsters.
but this calls out just how wildly different people's opinions can be because I wouldn't have guessed that. I know you like the thing, and I know you like creature features and the like, and I can't hold that against you, but that does surprise me because a lot of people are not going to list a horror flick as their favorite movie.
see, I thought he was going to say Alien.
It's Alien is up there. Alien is great. I think Aliens is a much. It's better in a different way.
I would agree.
Alien is your haunted house in space, and Aliens is more in the action genre with elements of horror.
See, Mark, when I was asking folks at work about this, and they would all list off things, and I would say, okay, now you're on death row. They give you 4 hours. What last movie are you going to watch as the last thing you see potentially before you die?
Likely not one that I've seen before. I would pick something I have not seen because why on earth, if it's going to be your last movie, we'll say that you get to watch
What if it
ever,
sucks?
doesn't
Because of
matter.
exactly
It
why Adam likes Willow. Is he said it was the way it makes him feel. Every time he watches it, he knows exactly what he's going to get, and he's going to
but
feel great.
I would
You're going to
rather
watch a movie, and you're going to go, well, you're going to death anyway, but you're going to go
it's
out
it,
on a low. If that's
Okay,
watch Batman v Superman.
if you selected that, they might let you out of jail because it's so
no,
good.
I wouldn't choose to watch a movie that I've seen already.
Okay,
You
let me
push your own button.
let me twist the question here. You're you're gonna be go to the executioner's chamber. You have 5 hours. Your wife calls you and says, "I'm gonna bring a movie. What do you want to watch?" There you go.
Wait, are you talking today, this day and
Let, let,
age?
let,
Because
let's say
streaming is a thing, right?
let's say tomorrow.
It's not a lot of time to decide. I would still opt for watching something I haven't seen before. I think. I don't think I would revert back because I don't know. Maybe that's a weird, rare opinion, but I would opt to watch something that I had yet to see. I don't see the
Okay, what
sense
happens if
if it's going to be the last
what happen?
movie. and you opt for an old experience, one that you're familiar with, versus something new, why would you not want to see something new?
Okay, let me put it this way. All right,
So this
you,
is
you
a
tell
really
your
weird
wife that.
scenario.
It is an
Okay,
odd
but
scenario.
you know,
And it's I can see both your points of view, which is pretty
okay, you tell your wife bring a movie I haven't seen, and she shows up with How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Call me
you
a
haven't seen
gambler
it.
then. Call me a
You
gambler.
haven't seen it. Wow, that's interesting. Okay,
What
in
about,
that
what
case,
about a movie that impacted you early on?
yeah.
Like Adam Has Willow. I was probably 12, 13 when I watched The Thing.
All right, so if we want to go way, way back, all right. Now this is testing the memory banks. Actually, I had this conversation with my wife recently. Actually, if I were to pick a movie that had like an emotional impact early on, it would have been the original animated Transformers movie.
Ah,
Oh,
okay.
very good.
I was young. I was still living in Napanee, so I would have been what, grade 2 or 3. And I don't remember the movie per se so much now because it's so many years, but I do remember that I really enjoyed it. I also really hated it too because if I remember correctly, in that movie, Optimus Prime is killed, and that
Mhm.
just
Oh,
and that
yeah.
one just decimated my life at the time when I was a 6-year-old child or whatever. But
Yeah, because didn't he die very early in the film?
I,
Oh
I
yeah,
think I think so. Yeah, I haven't
it
watched
was
it
an
since, but
exceptionally violent film for kids.
yeah.
But a lot of stuff was at that time. Like I
Yes.
remember,
Yeah.
like one of the first movies that I have a cognizance of seeing was, and this goes back, was E.T. at the Napanee Drive-In, and I remember, you look at it now, it's sort of tame, but back then, like when they had E.T. in the house that was all they plasticed it all off, and then Elliot's in there, and it's like this weird, like they're going to dissect him kind of situation. I might have been 4,
Yeah.
and you're watching this and you're thinking, well, what the hell's going to happen?
Now I'm saying this, but at the same time, I mean, again, I wouldn't consider that movie to be my favorite.
No.
But that was a very early movie-going experience, potentially my first at a theater, maybe. I don't know, or it's a long time ago. That I still remember the reaction that it gave me when I was sitting there, even though I was so young. But um, would it be my favorite? No, because I've said more than once I don't have a favorite movie. I have a group of favorite movies. If you were to ask me that question again, I might be inclined to say, well, which favorite movie? Because
Okay,
I've got
Yeah.
lots of favorite movies.
Yeah, I would
okay,
agree with that. Yeah, yeah.
then let's do top 5. Okay, so
Oh, we're not going to
Mark,
let this go, are we?
no, it physically bothers me.
Okay, so let's see. Nope. I probably can't even list the top 5.
Okay,
Top
list.
5.
Yeah, so Mark, give me 5 movies that you really enjoy. How's that?
Okay, so all right, if we're going to do this, the very first one is, now this is in no particular order because I'm just going to try and think back to which ones I enjoyed the most. Probably the original Matrix is up there. That's definitely on the list.
That's what I was going to ask that because I remember you and I went to see that, and you came out of that and you looked at me and you said something to the tune of, "I think that's my new favorite movie."
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. But I have a real draw towards the science fiction fantasy genre, so
Mhm.
most of these might fall into that category. I really enjoyed Avatar. That would be another one, the original, of course. But then again, that might have been captured by the, flashy lights and 3D animation.
Oh, it was
I
amazing
suppose
when it came out.
it was.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Or you just had a really big love for Fern Gully, and in the back of your head, you couldn't. Why do I like this so much?
I mean, the movie isn't amazing when you think about the movie. It is essentially Ferngully, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
the presentation was amazing.
And I think that I've always been drawn to the audio visual
Hmm.
side of movies. I want it to be an experience. I want to feel it. Um, if I want a movie that I want to contemplate and consider, I can watch it at home instead of going to the theater. So a lot of my movies that are going to rank high on my list are going to be ones that I've seen in theater because you get that full experience there. And I don't watch every movie at the theater, but
Well, Avatar is one of the only movies that, well, like, in that experience vein. Avatar is the only movie that I remember going to see it with. Who did I see it with? I think it was Trent, and it was the only movie I've ever seen where the audience was completely 100% captivated. And there's the scene where Sully goes out into the as the Avatar for the first time, and there's all that, like, the little spores floating around him,
yes.
and looking down the aisle, I see this hand come up to kind of like to bat at it like a cat would. And it's an older lady. She was heavily wrinkled. She must have been 70 or 80. And it was so real for her that she thought it was in her face. I've never seen that in any other film.
Let's see, that's two. We're going to be here a while if I have to come up with five. Um, let's see. I really enjoyed Interview with a Vampire. That's probably up there. I know that's pretty cliche, I suppose, but I would say that's one of them. What else?
I wouldn't say it's cliche, considering how badly Anne Rice's stuff has been screwed up on television recently. Like that sort of, like when you think about what year that came out, like that was 1994. Within about 10 years, you were into Twilight. So that really got the
Yes.
ball rolling with all that stuff.
I would almost say that one of them would have to be From Hell. Do
Ah,
you remember From Hell?
oh yeah.
I really enjoyed that one. So let's throw that out there on my top five.
I didn't agree with the who they picked as the Ripper, but I have my own theories on that. But
Ray Fiennes, is that who it was?
no, it was From Hell was Johnny Depp, and
Oh yes, that's right. Um, let's see one more. I'm gonna have to go with a Star Wars movie if I'm gonna pick just one. Um, probably Empire Strikes Back. I think is probably would have to round out my top five.
yes, the Empire Strikes Back is labeled as the best of the films, like from a critical standpoint.
I still have the original VHS
Yeah.
box set. It's here somewhere. I wouldn't be able to immediately go find it, but I know it's here.
All right. So we've got for Mark, Matrix, Avatar, Interview with the Vampire, From Hell, and Empire Strikes Back. Ryan, wow us with your choices.
Ooh, well, The Thing, you've already heard that one. It's just amazing start to finish.
Yeah.
Practical effects, it's fantastic. American Werewolf in London,
Yeah.
best werewolf transformation, bar none. Package deal, Alien and Aliens are great. Sci-fi. And then
But you have to pick one.
I would say I like Aliens. It's a little more action packed, and then it's difficult from there and in. That's what, 3.
Yep.
And let's get into the way back into the early teens and go Explorers, Goonies.
Okay.
Princess Bride is great.
You know, I've never seen that.
It's really simple, very very good.
So you had Thing, American Werewolf in London, Aliens, and you said maybe Goonies, and The Princess Bride.
Yeah, they'd be up there definitely.
Interesting.
Top 10 anyway, if not
Okay.
top 5. Well, let's say Neverending Story. That's a great one.
Ah, the movie that traumatized an entire
Yes,
generation.
Exactly. A very necessary part in the film.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, the part that I had to skip over for my daughter because that would have sent her crying into a bedroom.
Sorry, what was this?
The never-ending story where
Oh,
Atreyu,
yeah.
Atreyu's in the swamp.
I'm surprised I didn't mention that. You know what? That's my top 6 then, because yes, I had forgotten about that. That was definitely high on the list. In fact, I
Do you know-
probably could have replaced one of the others with that one.
So I remember seeing that in the theater, and I remember all these people being traumatized and crying about the horse. Do you know what the scene was that traumatized me in that film? Take
It
a guess.
I'm going to guess it's the wolf.
Okay.
I can't remember the name.
Nope.
No?
Nothing. Nothing. It's when the kid is reading the story, so not even in the fantasy world.
Well,
There's
you could argue that he is in the fantasy world.
well,
Mhm.
so it's the scene where he eats the entire apple and he eats the apple core. That has stuck with me my entire life as like I remember.
Why?
I have no clue. He was sitting there eating it, if you remember, and he's just all of a sudden he just eats the last of the apple core. And I remember sitting in my seat as a child thinking, "Oh my God, he just ate the apple core."
Right, because that they use that as a way to show how in absorbed he was in the story, right? That he wasn't
I
paying
guess.
attention to what he was
I
doing.
went to
He ate
school
the
with a
whole
guy
apple.
that did that all the time.
Oh my God, that's
You've
terrifying.
never eaten an apple core before?
Never in my
Not the
life.
entire no.
Oh, I have. I mean,
Uh,
it's not ideal by any stretch.
Well, I remember as a young boy somebody telling me that the apple seeds contain arsenic, and ever since then I have never even gone anywhere near the core. Like I will eat to the point where I can't even see the seeds in the apple, and then I throw it out. And
I
that's just a
assumed it's
habit.
Because if you eat watermelon seeds, you didn't have watermelon grow in your stomach, so I assumed the apple would do the same thing.
Hey, our train just skipped tracks here.
Did your parents never tell you that when you were a kid?
No,
Never.
no.
No, but I would get things like don't swallow your gum because it'll never leave your stomach. Kind of
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
Yeah.
which for all I know is true, but I highly doubt it.
That's interesting. But yeah, that was about the never-ending story. That was the moment of the film that I'll never forget. And everybody talks about the horse, and for me, it was just that was terrible. But the guy ate his whole apple core. People look at me like I'm from fucking Mars.
I can't remember the name of the wolf creature.
The nothing.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
That was the nothing. I
think so.
Maybe not. Maybe he
I thought-
worked for the nothing. No, he had a name.
He had a name, and I can't remember what it is now. I'll have to Google search that.
Well, I haven't seen that in forever.
Did it start with a G?
I think so.
Wasn't it like? Hang on. G. Wasn't it like? Gork?
Gamork.
Oh, Gamork.
Gmork.
Interesting.
But that's
But-
amazing too. It was all practical effects. It was
Yeah.
Yeah,
the way films should be.
that was
Why was-
probably it when he encounters him in the cave, and it's all dark, and
Yeah.
all you really see is the bright green eyes and the shiny teeth, and that
That's-
actually was more noting or something that stuck out to me more so even than the horse.
Well, it's something kids don't see now. Everything's sanitized, right? That you were scared in that part
Yeah.
because it was meant to elicit fear in you. The horse
Interesting.
was you were super sad. You were like I cried when I was a kid at that part. I lost my mind.
Actually,
That's what a movie's supposed to do to you.
they have it described as that character being a werewolf. Actually,
Really?
yeah.
Huh.
This is on
I always thought he was just a wolf.
fandom.com has got full name is Gamork. Alias was the werewolf.
Is she or not on some sort of a fanfic page?
No, you're right. You're right. It says here that it's a slender, muscular, intimidating wolf-like beast
Yeah.
capable
Wow.
of human. Oh, okay. So it says that they think it's a werewolf because it can speak.
Mm.
Do I hear somebody's chair? Maybe that's what you're hearing, Mark. Like a
No,
chair
it's-
creaking.
My
It
chair's
definitely,
got a bit of a
it definitely
squeak to it.
sounded like typing to me.
Weird. Like I'm typing now. Can you hear that?
No, this
Okay.
was like the typical click 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 of keys on a keyboard. I could hear. I don't know. Maybe it was
Where?
your cat. I don't know, but it didn't. It sure sounded like typing.
I thought maybe the
Interesting.
dogs, the nails on the floor. That
That might have been it.
Oh, maybe if they were in the room, perhaps. Yeah, maybe that's what I was hearing. Darn it!
Ah.
Here I was hoping that we had somehow drawn the the eye of somebody who was listening in,
Sauron.
Oh,
covertly listening into our discussions about our top
Well,
five plus one
Sauron's the
favorite
one we
movies.
have to worry about. I think we can all puzzle out what he's doing and how he's doing it within a matter of minutes.
yes, we have no problem. Yeah, yes, and we also know where to drop the nuclear weapon.
So, what's your top 5?
Well, I can go very quickly with this. So first would be Willow, as we mentioned. Next, as far as favorite movies to watch and favorite movies that left a mark on me, would be Ghostbusters. And because I'm sure I've told you my Dr. Ray Stan story, so I won't repeat it. But because I used to see Dan Aykroyd around Sydenham and that area, right? So I would see, hey, like holy shit. Next would be Hunt for Red October. That was my first sort of grown-up movie that I saw in 1990. Then it would be I would put all 3 Lord of the Rings collectively into a film, because really it sort of is. And then last would be sort of like Mark with a Star Wars, and it would be Return of the Jedi because it had everything. Like Empire Strikes Back was the better film, but my favorite would be Return of the Jedi. Like it had Ewoks, it had Luke back fighting the Emperor finally. It had that incredible space battle. It had Jabba the Hutt. It had all that cool stuff. And then I probably squeak in Rogue One somewhere in there, but like as a Star Wars film. But yeah, I think that's it.
All decent movies. Although
Yeah.
that is one of the few things that the Rings of Power did really well, or the Trents
Wait.
or Treants.
Oh, the Ents, yeah.
The
Ents, yes,
yeah.
yeah.
But
That
it was one.
well done.
But it was one thing they couldn't really screw up because it was animated, right? So anything else that involved actual on-screen actors was terrible.
I don't know. Have you seen any of the Disney animations or computer effects? They're pretty shit.
There's another question. Favorite Disney film?
Ooh.
Now I
Well,
won't
wait
count.
a minute. So
I won't count some caveats. I don't count anything that Disney's made in the last, say, 10 years since acquiring Star Wars or Indiana Jones or anything like that, or Fox. So it's Disney movies from, say, 2010 back.
So we're gonna say classic Disney movies.
Well, or something in the early 2000s. Like, let's say, like up until, say, like Toy Story 3 kind of thing. Because a lot of people, a lot of like Quentin Tarantino says that the Toy Story trilogy, the original, that's his favorite trilogy ever. I think it was Quentin Tarantino who said that.
I've always been partial to the Robin Hood, the cartoon.
Okay, good one. That's a very good one.
I don't know. There's probably an awful lot of Disney movies that are Disney movies nowadays that I wouldn't have considered as such at the time.
Let's say you've got all your kids' movies still there, and your grandkids come over 10 years, 15 years from now, and you say, hey, I think you might like this. What do you put in?
The Fox and the Hound.
Hey,
Do you like
maybe.
animals, kids?
That was as devastating as the horse from A Neverending Story.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm literally scrolling through Disney movies looking for one that I can say stands out.
Well, as you do that, there's 3 for me that are probably all tied with one being slightly ahead. So first choice, favorite Disney movie would be The Black Cauldron.
Yeah, I was thinking that. It's pretty good.
And that was one that, from what I understand, and it might be, because it's almost 40 years ago, it's based on a series of books, right? And so they did the movie, and then they had to cut a bunch of it out because it was deemed that kids were terrified. So that was a good one. Robin Hood would probably then be tied with The Sword and the Stone. Because The Sword and the Stone was probably one of the most interesting magic battles I've ever seen in a cartoon, where it's just these 2 wizards sort of going at it and transforming into different animals and shit.
That was quite good, yes. Yeah. When he gets turned into the different animals, the kid.
Yeah. And it had Archimedes the owl.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I remember. It's good. Madam Mim, I heard what name was.
Yeah.
Madam Mim. That was a great wizards battle.
And I guess it's also because it had history, it had the Arthurian legend, it had wizards, and it also had that weird twist where when the first time you see Merlin, he comes back from the 20th century after surfing, which I always thought was interesting.
They did make some really good cartoons.
But all the ones,
Fantasia, Dumbo,
yeah.
Snow White. I mean, the very first one.
If you look at the animation of Sleeping Beauty, where the prince fights, I forget her name,
Maleficent, isn't it?
Yeah, like that battle at the end was animated so well, and that was like what I gotta look that up when that was, because that was incredible.
I don't know.
1959,
right? Because the 10-year-old me would have a vastly different opinion on Disney than, say, the mid-40s-year-old me.
Well, take it like Ryan and I are describing movies that obviously impacted us as kids, right? Like which one impacted, sort of like you with Transformers, right? It's an animated. Which Disney movie do you remember watching as a kid that you would throw on and actually watch?
It would be a tough one. Peter Pan would probably be high on the list. I
Huh.
always like the idea of Peter Pan and the Lost Boys and all those. But then again, a lot of that is also the remake, is what, which wasn't a Disney movie as far as I know. I don't think so. So I don't know if that's a good example because
I'm looking at their list right now.
yeah, that's what I'm doing in
Mary Poppins was good.
chronological order.
Pete's Dragon.
Like I was always into like the darker movies, and so I don't. There's not many Disney films that I like. Like I've met people who are Disney, obsessed with Disney, where they go once a year and they just love. Like the only other Disney thing that I really like would be Winnie the Pooh, but I don't consider that Disney because I had the books as a kid that I had never seen the cartoons. Like I love Winnie the Pooh in the sense that he was sort of like a Calvin and Hobbes type character, but it had nothing to do with the Disney movies.
Bed Knobs and Broomsticks.
I don't remember that one.
Mountain.
Yeah, but I don't know if you count those as movies though, because some of that, like they did an awful lot of short films, which is what I would classify that as.
Which?
Sorry, did you say Escape from Death Mountain?
Witch Mountain.
Witch Mountain.
Or Witch Mountain? No, that's not what I was thinking of. Never mind.
1977, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
I don't know.
I didn't realize how old some of these were. Holy.
One of the more recent ones that I did enjoy was Big Hero 6. I enjoyed Big Hero 6.
That was a good one. Yeah, my kids love that one. I could never get into Tron, Ryan. I don't know why, but the effects were great. I just hated the story.
Second one is more entertaining, but it was pretty good. Black Cauldron was 1985.
Yeah, I remember going to the theater to see that. Now, do either of you remember, and this might not even be a Disney film, but when Disney on ABC on Sunday nights used to be like the Sunday night Disney movie, if you remember, on TV,
Yeah.
there was like a horror movie, not horror, but it was scary for its time, about the kids in the old house, and they would see the girl who was like from the 1700s or 1600s, and there was a guy in a Quaker outfit trying to scare them. Do you remember that?
I think it was Mr. Boogedy, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
That was 1986.
Wow.
No, that was Disney.
No, that wasn't
like
it.
a ghost.
Yeah.
In a Quaker outfit.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like he looked like the Quaker Oats guy,
Yeah.
but he was. What the hell was that called?
I hate it when that happens.
That's going to drive me nuts for weeks.
What, a memory lapse?
Well, I can see it in my mind. I can see scenes from the movie.
What movie are you talking about? I had to set the headset down for a second.
It's a Disney movie. It's probably from the late '80s, if it is a Disney movie at all. And it's about a guy. It's about these kids in this old house, and there's a ghost of like a girl from the 1600s or a boy, and there's someone coming. There's another ghost that's trying to get her at night, and it's the guy dressed up like with a Quaker hat on, like the Quaker Oats guy. And I remember that impacting me quite a lot.
Yeah, I can't think of it, but I know exactly what you mean. I've got a sci-fi one movie stuck in my head. I can't figure out what it is.
A sci-fi.
Yeah, the alien. It runs. It's almost built like an ape, but it can run on all fours, and when they die, there's an egg type thing inside them, and then the next version of the alien has the genetic memory of the previous one, but I cannot for the life of me think of what it is. It's probably a B movie I've seen somewhere along the line. I watched lots of those.
Are we still talking about Disney movies?
Sort of.
Kind of. It's a bit of a tangent.
Oh, jeepers. That's going to...
Was it a Halloween movie?
Yes.
There's so many.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what? And the thing is there's probably movies that I don't even initially remember as being Disney movies anymore. Just because there's so many of them, kind of forget. Like even like Nightmare Before Christmas. I could have mentioned that one. I enjoyed that one. Didn't initially recall it being a Disney movie, but apparently it is.
That was one movie that I never liked. Was that I remember that being so popular when we were in high school and stuff, and for whatever reason I just didn't get into it.
Well, it would be hard for you to get into it being a metalhead. It's not quite the same genre.
Well, it kind of was Nightmare Before Christmas.
Monsters Inc. was fun.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just throwing out movies as
It wasn't something Wicked This Way Comes. No.
I didn't know this was Disney.
Public school.
This can't be Disney. Spirited Away wasn't Disney. Was it?
The cartoon?
I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
It was it was an anime.
Maybe it was.
Oh,
that might be one of those things where. Though that might be one of those things where it's like produced or distributed by, but not actually like a Disney film.
Yeah, that's. I'm looking at an IMDb list of all Disney movies, 1937 to present. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the very first one, apparently.
Do they get into any of the Donald Duck Nazi stuff?
It's probably not in here. I don't know. How big is this list? I bet. Okay, it's numbered. Oh, what do we got here? Oh, is that the last? Yeah, all the way to the Zootopia 2, which was this year, 136.
So I'm looking at a list here of the scariest Disney films. Number 9 is The Fox and the Hound.
Really?
Oh my God! Like what?
Scariest?
Yeah.
Well,
you got to remember the audience, though, right?
I guess. No, Ryan. Do you remember The Black Hole?
Vaguely. That's a sci-fi one, right? With the two robots that float? Yeah.
Yes, that was one of the most out to lunch sci-fi movies I've ever seen.
I haven't seen that in a long time. The Watcher in the Woods. What the hell is that?
Geez, there's movies on here I'd never heard of before, and not that old either.
You know what, Ryan? I think it was Mr. Boogedy. I'm looking at pictures of it here, and it might be.
I thought there was a guy in that suit in that. God, man, that's been forever.
Let's see if it's. Yep, that's it. Yep, you're right. I'm looking at the cast right now, and that is exact. There was an actor in it who I was trying to remember the name of, and I kept thinking he's in it. If I can find him, and sure enough, yep, that is. It's Mr. Boogedy, because that was filmed as a they were trying to do like a mini series of it, but I think it probably scared the shit out of children, so they didn't put it on. Yeah, that's it. Oh man.
Now just leave it as that. Don't watch it again because it'll taint.
Yeah.
The meaning of it.
But I remember it was when I moved from the city out to the country, we moved into this old house, and it was so the house I lived in before the one you guys know was an 1812 farmhouse, and I remember thinking, yeah, are there ghosts here? But then as I got older, I realized that ghosts weren't real, and I never really worried about it. Ah, there's another one. To segue, do you guys believe in the supernatural? Aliens don't count. Aliens are something else.
Where did that come from?
Well, we're talking about horror movies.
Came from ghosts
Yes.
and Halloween.
That's a gray area for me.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm not sold. I'd like to. I really would. Like, it would be amazing, but
I think that
not to the extent that you see in movies and stuff. No.
right. I
As
think
far as-
the human mind can make it seem like the supernatural is a real thing, because we all tend to let our imagination run away with us, especially when you're younger, right?
Now, are you guys talking then about you believe that residual energy of people is real, or do you just believe that sort of people create their own ghosts?
I don't
know. The residual energy is interesting.
Like from a scientific physics standpoint, residual energy is a thing, right? I mean, it is. But is there a consciousness aspect that would codify that?
I don't know if I would consider it to be a consciousness of sorts. I could see it being almost like a recording, I guess. But then that would tie in with reports of say spirits or ghosts or whatever being seen, say at a particular place at a particular time doing a similar thing, over and again or regularly or semi-regularly.
So
right?
do you think
it kind of makes it sound like it's a recording, right? Like you're just seeing the last kind of ethereal glimpses of whatever that being's
I would
life entailed.
Say, I mean, you had to have had the experience of walking into a room or a building and just you're like, no, this just doesn't feel right. Something is off, or this is not a good place to be.
Now,
which is just an extension of our sixth sense that we usually don't use anymore.
Yeah, I would like to think that that's still out there. I would like to think that people and human beings in general are more sensitive to things than what we, or can be more sensitive to things that we ordinarily just either ignore or shrug off as being explainable by one means or another. But I don't know. I mean, I would almost say that I've had a semi-supernatural experience before.
Oh.
Have I not ever told you about the story when we went to do the haunted walk in Fort Henry years ago?
Maybe.
Nothing's coming to mind.
It was just my wife and I. We decided to do this haunted walk, here in town at Fort Henry. So um, basically, it's if you've ever done a haunted walk, it was the same thing, except it was specifically about the fort, and it's after hours, or at least it was then. Um, so the only people in the fort were us, like the group, and the tour guide. So they walked us through a number of areas in the upper galleries of the parade square and some of the tunnels underneath, actually, which I would hazard to guess you don't normally see, um, because I remember there being like planks on the floor that they were set down to keep you from getting your feet wet because it was so far down below fort walls. But the weird part was, and of course they're telling stories the whole time, so I'm sure some of this could be my imagination, but we were in the parade square and there were some lights on in the parade square itself. But all of the and you've both been in there. I assume you've both been in there. The
Oh yeah.
the upper galleries where all of the rooms and everything and the displays normally are.
Yeah.
Well, they were all in darkness, and I just happened to look up at one point while they were telling a story in the middle of the parade square, and I could see this black shape walking in front of one of the glass windows of the rooms up in the upper level. And it was just a smooth black shadowy shape. It was darker than everything else around it, which is why I saw it, right? I could see it against almost like a silhouette, but there was no other light up there to cast a shadow. And it was of a size that would be proportionate to a person if they were up on in one of those rooms, right? It wasn't a shadow cast from somebody down below because it would be huge from such a distance, right? So,
Mhm.
which was weird. Immediately gave me goosebumps, and I definitely felt like there was something there. But it was weird. It wasn't like somebody was in stride walking. You know, you couldn't see arms swinging. It was just like a side profile of what looked like humanoid just moving along the gallery, and then it disappeared, and I didn't see it again.
Interesting. Because I've been like my father was married at Fort Henry, and so because we had done concerts there in the past, we had sort of like a carte blanche to go in and just act like idiots. So there's on the bottom of the parade square, there's all the rooms that sort of go. So you walk down the entrance into the parade square, and then there's it's almost like a hockey rink almost when you think about it. And on the far left, excuse me, there was a room where they had a bunch of the old beds and cots. And just off that, there was a room that had a huge metal door that was in the floor that would open up. If you've ever been in there, and we were able to walk down there. Like there were no staff. We're talking 11:30 at night. And so my father's party is going on upstairs, and one of the guys we went to high school with was there with me, and we walked down around in the dark with flashlights, and you could hear water dripping, and you could hear movement, but I think it was probably rats. But from what I understand, that's where some of the prison cells were. And I never experienced anything supernatural down there. Maybe it's because I didn't believe in it. I don't know. But there were definitely shapes and things that you'd sort of catch like out of the corner of your eye. But I think it's just your mind playing tricks on you.
Yeah, I mean, later on, I kind of chalked it up to the same thing. Like it was, I didn't actually see anything, and to my knowledge, there was nobody else there when we were with this tour group. But actually, it looks like they're still doing it. Ghost tour of Fort Henry.
Oh, I would imagine they are, yeah.
Because it's interesting. Because a lot of people like that fort never saw any action, but there were a lot of prisoners there who died, right? And so some people believe that the whole residual energy thing happens in places of malice where there's where people die, or even if it's natural causes, but it was just this sort of like horrific experiences. And like I've toured castles in England and Scotland where like there's a place called, was it Chillingham? Damn, I can't remember. I think it was Chillingham. It's this really old castle, but apparently down like during the 1600s they killed hundreds and hundreds of people in this place. And I didn't have any supernatural experiences, but walking down the steps into this basement of this huge castle dungeon, you feel like the air physically changes, and whether your body's picking up on the fact that the air is denser and it's just sort of making give you goosebumps. But it's a weird feeling knowing you're standing in a place where people were tortured and massacred, right? So it's and I've heard people talk about who've gone to Cambodia to, if you guys are familiar with the killing fields, horrible, horrible place. And people have talked about seeing things there and feeling weird feelings. And it's interesting. But Ryan, do you have any weird experiences?
Not really, per se. I do believe in the residual energy, though. Even from two people that are fighting in a room, you can walk into the room, not even look at them, and it's like walking into a wall. You just feel the negativity.
Yeah, I know what you're saying there, because you can pick up on the. I don't know. Some people are more sensitive to it than others, I think. But we've all come across a scenario where you just know someone's in a sour mood. We haven't said any word to them, nothing,
Yeah.
and you know that there's tension. You can just feel it,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's got to be something to it, right? Whether it be slight changes in mannerisms, maybe, that give you that impression. I would suspect that it's more to do with that than anything else. But yeah, I definitely like to think that there's more that goes on around us that we are sometimes more perceptive to, than in others. I think it's mostly in those periods where you are quiet and not distracted. Maybe in a place that you're a little uncomfortable. Those are the areas where you're going to feel like something's off. But
Well, I remember. I also wonder if that's like a leftover trait from evolution, like being able to pick up on potentially dangerous or problematic circumstances. I remember a therapist once told me that, like I was talking about, like my crippling fear of snakes, for example, and she said that, well, some people believe that's a layover from when we were, rodent-sized mammals, always watching for those kind of creatures that would kill us. So that kind of changed my perspective on it a little bit. But are we picking up when we enter rooms where we have these sort of weird feelings? Are we picking up on just a primal response that your brain is sort of saying that there's something off here to sort of be on your toes?
kind of like it's the very, very early stages of your fight or flight response, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
kind of would be how I would put it.
Because like I have panic attacks, as I've told you guys, and that's a very flight or fight response. And I have when I walk into a room, like for example, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was in my backyard. It was about 2 in the morning. My two dogs were out there, and all of a sudden, both dogs, without barking, are just staring at the back, like the back tree line of my property. And there's nothing behind us for several kilometers, and they're just staring at it, and they won't go any closer. So I'm staring into the black. I don't have a flashlight, but the same sort of fight or flight thing ticks up in the back of my mind, right? But the dogs aren't leaving either, but they're not advancing. It's just I've had several of those moments here, and I imagine that most of the people in the country do. But it's that weird that first sort of tick in the back of your head that says, go back in the house. It's a weird feeling.
I don't know. It's akin to I don't know, being around a campfire, for example, in the dark with a group of people. Everybody's looking at the campfire. Whether anyone's telling a scary story or not doesn't matter, but having the feeling of being watched.
Oh yeah.
I've had that, feeling multiple times. It's more when I'm younger than say now, but that kind of thing, you have to wonder, is it just your mind, doing that to you, or are you actually picking up on something that isn't initially obvious? I don't know.